Modders have been busy when it comes to Fallout 4 and some of the large-scale upcoming mods for this game. In particular, in this video, I want to take some time to focus on the Fallout 3 Remake mod, that known as Fallout 4 the Capital Wasteland project. This recently got a pretty big update, and I think some people are missing how big of an update or milestone they just hit, so I want to go over that. Even further, there are a few other big mods. Not only are users recreating Fallout 3, but even Fallout 76. Fallout Appalachia is a mod I haven't talked too much about in a while, but the recreation of Fallout 76's world space in Fallout 4 has been going on for a while, and actually has a lot to show for it at this point. Outside of that, a few other smaller scale mods that are also on their way to this lovely game of ours. If you guys enjoy the content, you can get subscribed, especially if you want to keep up to date with the modding scenes of both Fallout 4 and Skyrim. I actually should have some pretty special videos coming for both of those games in the next couple of weeks. But otherwise, first, let's take a look at Fallout 4 the Capital Wasteland project. What is a Fallout 3 remake mod in Fallout 4's engine? We've been talking about this mod for a while, and when we talk about these remake or just overhaul DLC-sized mods for Fallout 4, one of the big concerns you often see voiced is, well, it's so far away that it's hard to get excited for. Although the update we're looking at today is a specific one, as it is the Point Lookout mid-developer update. As some of you may remember, a couple of weeks ago they did release this trailer, announcing that there would be a standalone release of the Point Lookout DLC for Fallout 4. So although yes, they are working on remaking Fallout 3 in its entirety, they're also working on just recreating this specific DLC, meaning that we could get a good glimpse and experience of this remake before the full project itself is complete. I love the idea, and they are posting major progress. There's a huge image set. I've been showing you some of that in the background as long as with the trailer that released a few weeks ago. One of the interesting parts, for many of these images, I went to their in-game counterparts right now in Fallout 3, just large in part vanilla, and with several of these, you could really see the changes. At points, they're just very clear visual upgrades that can be brought from the Fallout 4 engine overall, in particular with the lighting, but also for several of the interiors and locations in general. It certainly feels like this mod project has almost modernized them, taken what was previously a bit old or dated looking experience and actually added additional lights or additional details to those locations. This wasn't done across the board, but in the instances where it did happen, it actually felt really good. Like, not only is it a straight recreation, but actually a bit of an upgrade also. And I'm personally a huge fan of this. I like this approach and direction. But overall, whether it be exterior or interior shots, you could really see just how much of an upgrade this is, even including just some of the NPCs in the world. Definitely look a lot better with this mod. Overall, I'm particularly excited for this one, and particularly excited for this as I actually clarified with the team that when they say mid-dev update, they do quite literally mean they are over halfway done. So not even mid-dev update, but actually a little bit further. And that's not just on the world space, but with the DLC overall. Across the board, excluding some of the voice acting, many of the locations, quests, weapons, armors, and even some more as far as NPCs go have already been complete for this Point Lookout remake, which is something to get very, very excited for. Although the larger Fallout 3 remake may be still several years away, this one might only be a year away, or even less, depending on what pace or how much progress continues to be made with this. And I think when you take that into consideration, it makes looking at some of these images, looking at some of the remade NPCs or weapons a lot easier to get excited for. This is something that is coming along very nicely. Although even outside of that, another and separate, very interesting mod on its way to Fallout 4 doesn't really have a name yet, but is kind of a magic mod, as we just recently got this video posted on Reddit where one user actually was able to get magic-esque effects working in Fallout 4, with even some interesting animations to go along with it, so it looks like you're actually holding the effect. So right now, this is fairly early on, more of a proof of concept than anything else. This is described more or less as just being light magic, so you could have an illumination around your character, but he wants to create other effects like a void, fire and ice and lightning effects, and even some healing effects, very similar to what we have in Skyrim. And the mod author really discusses how the scope of this one is more or less the Skyrim magic system being in Fallout 4. I know this won't be everyone's everyone's cup of tea. I feel like there's a lot of people that just enjoy their modern firearms, and I'll actually have some more for you in that regard in this video. But I think this is cool. It's unique, it's different, and we have plenty as far as modern firearms go, so seeing something like this gets me excited. Which, speaking of, some other interesting things on their way to Fallout 4, we have the Institute prototype pulse rifle. We saw this teaser of it a while ago, and it looks extremely interesting. A high detail take on an Institute weapon, which looks very fitting for the faction and certainly light years better than what we have right now. But we also just recently got a rifle version of this, and it looks awesome. Extremely detailed, like overly complex to a degree, but the author describes how he plans a lot of modularity for this one, so it will have different versions for Gen 1, 2, and 3 synths. And in general, this looks cool. Like, it could be a definitive answer to that problem of the Institute and the synths specifically having boring weapons when you encounter them. We've had a few mods in the past that are almost in a similar vein to the vanilla option, but this is something truly unique, but at the same time very fitting for the world and faction. Outside of that, we also continue the trend of mod authors recreating or taking certain Fallout 76 aspects and bringing them to Fallout 4, with some updates around the Redshift power armor, including just some in-game screenshots of this one. The Redshift power armor technically in Fallout 4 is the communist power armor, and it was a roughly $15 microtransaction that you could get on the Atomic Shop, or you could wait for this mod and download it for free in Fallout 4. It looks really cool. I think it's very fitting for the world in general, and I really love some of these in-game screenshots. You can see it actually looks that good. And although we've been talking quite a bit about individual assets or items that users are bringing to Fallout 4 from Fallout 76, I also want to show you some updates on Fallout Appalachia. So this one's actually, one, really cool, and two, has been making significant progress since I covered it a little over a year ago now. Basically, the concept of Fallout Appalachia is nigh identical to that of Beyond Skyrim, if you're familiar with that project. It is adding the entire world space of Fallout 76 into Fallout 4, but during the time frame of Fallout 4. Fallout 76 takes place just 26 years with Wastelanders after the bombs drop. Fallout 4 takes place several hundred years after the bombs dropped, so more or less you get to experience the world space of Fallout 76, except over 100 years have passed. And this recreation project is actually insanely accurate. I did some comparisons in Fallout 76 right now versus the mod itself, and you can see things are really close to being lined up. And again, this is a recreation. It's not just a port of the landscape of Fallout 76, because that is not allowed. And there's so much content, so much footage, gameplay, images to share around this, there's no way I have time during this segment of this video. I do plan a larger video looking more in depth at this one in the future, but overall it's coming along really nicely. We got some gameplay exploring the forest region, and even further, seeing the reactivity of the world. After one moment where you actually clear out an area, you could return later to find raiders have taken it over. And if you've been playing Fallout 76, whether it just be in Wastelanders or the game overall over the past couple of years, a lot of this will look really familiar to you. It obviously looks different because it is Fallout 4. We don't have 16 times the detail, but this is one I'm actually getting really excited for because I almost kind of forgot about it. And then as I was covering all of these other Fallout 76 recreation mods for Fallout 4, like that recent power armor, I had a thought. I was like, oh yeah, what happened to it? I look back at this Fallout Appalachia mod to see progress hasn't slowed. There are still weekly updates from the developer on new things he has added, new areas he has created. I'll have a link to his Discord down below if you want to follow this mod more closely or just look through the wealth of images and media he has posted around it, and even just text as to what he's working on or holdups he's having. It's a really cool one, and actually also a testament to sticking to your mod project and keeping the community around it up to date on a regular basis. So even separate of that, we do have another pretty large scale project on its way to Fallout 4, that with Dawn of America, which is going to be an upcoming quest mod for Fallout 4. The goal of this one is to patch some of the holes in the lore and not just make the Enclave the evil bad guy faction in Fallout 4, but rather a joinable faction that hopefully has some depth or intrigue around it. They could be the bad guys, but maybe you won't think they're the bad guys. Thus far, they have shared several images of locations, whether it be bases for the Enclave with NPCs set up, or even some custom assets being built for this mod. Overall, I'm excited for this one. There isn't a ton of context as far as the story goes or their exact plans for how it'll be implemented, but it's been a while since we've had a good Enclave quest mod. There were a few in the earlier days of Fallout 4 modding, but it's been a bit. Seems like that scene has almost moved in a different direction, so I'm happy to see there is a project returning to it, and a project that is getting significant progress made. But large in part, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Hopefully you guys found the video informative or just helpful. Making some of these mod videos are easily my favorite overall, and in particular, with that Fallout 3 Point Lookout recreation, I'm excited. Point Lookout was a great experience back in the day, and getting to re-experience it in Fallout 4's engine should, one, prove people, hey, these projects are working on real things and making significant progress, but even further, I wouldn't be surprised if shortly after that releases, you see an overwhelming amount of support for the project overall, which could kind of progress it a bit more quickly in that immediate aftermath. If they do this for subsequent DLCs, especially some of the most popular ones, I could see a lot of people being very happy. But overall, again, it's going to wrap it up for this one. Coming soon, I should have another large-scale video looking at just about every DLC-sized mod on its way to Fallout 4, and I'm looking to do a few special things this time around. I know I've made that video several times, kind of status updates, but it's been over a year now since the last one, so hopefully I'll have some special stuff for this one. As always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope to see you all next time. Later.